This is CBS 4 News This Morning.
Good morning, South Florida. It's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, September 4th. I'm Frances Wang.
And I'm Carly Barnett. Lauren and Maribel are off today. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin by tracking Hurricane Dorian. That storm has finally pulled away from the Bahamas, and it's now lashing the north and central Florida East Coast.
For more on Hurricane Dorian and our local weather, of course, we want to go to meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez. Good morning, Lisette.
Good morning, Francis and Carly. Good morning to all of you at home. Yes, currently experiencing tropical storm force conditions here across the central and northeast.
The devastation from Hurricane Dorian is beyond belief. Parts of the Bahamas wiped off the map. The death toll from the catastrophic storm is still on the rise this morning. Now, the big story from Dorian is and will continue to be in the Bahamas. This view from above Great Abaco Island showing the damage that honestly is just hard to describe.
Well, this morning, the Bahamas Prime Minister confirms at least 7 people have died because of the hurricane, and that number is still expected to rise over these coming hours and coming days. He says more than 60% of the homes in Marsh Harbor on Grand Abaco Island are either damaged or completely destroyed.
Now, on Grand Bahama, these are satellite images of what the island looked like before and after the storm. Just look at how much water surged onto the island. The yellow lines outline where land is now underwater. CBS 4's Ted Scouten is now in the Bahamas covering the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian.
The Bahamian Prime Minister touring devastated areas in a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter. When he returned here to Nassau, he said that this is some of the worst destruction in the history of the Bahamas. The Prime Minister thanked first responders, saying they're acting with courage to save lives. He plans on meeting with charitable organizations later on today. In Nassau, Bahamas, Ted Scouten, CBS 4 This Morning.
After seeing the devastation in the Bahamas, so many of you are asking how to help.
And relief efforts are already underway in Dania Beach. CBS 4's Riel Creighton continues our team coverage from there live with more on what is being done. Good morning, Riel.
Good morning, Francis and Carly. These are pallets and pallets and pallets of water. This is just a fraction of some of the items that a small grassroots group of Broward boaters, business owners, and residents have collected to send to the Bahamas. If you would like to help this group or the United Way of Broward County or any other group for that matter, we do have a list of some of those relief efforts. You can find that on our website at cbsmiami.com. We're live in Dania Beach this morning. Riel Creighton, CBS 4 This Morning.
Riel, thank you. And Neighbors for Neighbors and our Intercom radio partners, including Power 96, 560 The Joe, WQAM, and Kiss Country 99.9 have come together to help in the relief effort. To find out more, go to neighborsforneighbors.org. And for a full list of the different ways you can help the Bahamas, go to cbsmiami.com/Dorian Relief. It is now 6:09. South Florida dodged Dorian, but other parts of the Sunshine State are feeling the effects of the storm right now.
Coming up next, we head up to the coast where residents are feeling the outer bands as it moves dangerously close to Florida.
Plus, while rescue crews are doing their best in the Bahamas, island residents are looking out for each other. All new at 6:30, see how some heroes are braving these dangerous waters to save their neighbors. Welcome back. It is 6:13. Of course, we are continuing to keep a close eye on Dorian. It has moved away from the Bahamas, finally, for those people there. But now Florida is starting to feel the effects of some of this.
Oh, yeah. We're seeing some tropical storm force conditions across central and northeastern Florida right now as we look at the radar. Right now, Dorian is just to the east of Daytona, but the impacts are being felt well away from that center.
Look at traffic. Carly, back to you.
Chris, thank you for that update. Our Hurricane Dorian coverage continues. While you were sleeping, the Category 2 storm moved north near the central Florida's east coast.
And right now, we want to head live to Daytona Beach, where CBS 4's Hillary Lane is joining us. Hillary, let's begin with what it is like up where you're at. What have the conditions been like overnight, and what is it like there right now?
Francis and Carly, we've seen conditions intensify overnight. I want to give you a look so you can see it's been raining extremely hard for hours and hours, and the wind has been intensifying. You can see those palm trees blowing in the wind, but we've seen debris flying. There's fences one level down from where we are. The wood and debris from those fences flying all over the place. We've seen sheds that were completely leveled, and that's why officials worried about these areas that are close to the water. They're worried about storm surge. That's why a mandatory evacuation order went into place yesterday. Major concerns about flooding as well. Now, we did speak to officials, and they said that they do feel like a lot of people heeded those warnings, and hopefully we're out of town for the most intense part of the storm, and that's good news, officials say.
Well, Well, Hillary, you touched on that evacuation order. This time we spoke with you yesterday. It looked like a beautiful morning out there. You said people were out at the beach saying, we're going to put off evacuating it. It looks too nice. When did you start seeing people heed those warnings, get out of their homes and secure them?
There was such a shift, right? We showed you the beach. It was actually a beautiful day yesterday, but yesterday afternoon conditions started to change. The surf really started to pick up. Some of the bridges started to close down. Police started talking to people, urging them to leave. So I would say last night was really when people started leaving, and luckily they missed the worst of the conditions that rolled in earlier this morning.
We're so glad to hear that. Hillary Lane reporting for us live from Daytona Beach. Thank you very much.
Well, now it is time for Talking with Joe. Joe Rose live from the 560 The Joe WQAM studios this morning. Joe, always a pleasure. Now, we usually chat sports. Of course, we like to have fun with you in the mornings, but we cannot ignore the dire situation that is going on right now in the Bahamas. So we're taking it a little more serious this morning. Your station, 560 The Joe, and Neighbors for Neighbors have teamed up to help those in the Bahamas. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And for people who want to get involved at home, what can they do?
Well, I would start by saying for everybody and through the years that spent time in any of the islands in the Bahamas, and of course Grand Bahama getting hit really hard, it's really a great opportunity for us. We got lucky to help out. And man, if you've seen those pictures on CBS 4 of the devastation that's taken place there, they really do need our help. NeighborsForNeighbors.org, or you can go to WQAM.com along with Power 96 and 99.9 KISS FM, all getting involved, all three of our stations, to help out as much as we can, lend a voice, and hopefully anybody. Just keep it on your mind. Anything you can give, they'll take just about anything at this point. There's going to be a lot of work ahead, and South Florida always been gracious about giving anything that people need over there help. So I'm hoping and guessing a lot of South Florida folks are going to get involved in this. We're just doing our part. It's a very little part, but we can make a big difference for a lot of our good friends in the Bahamas.
Absolutely. We may not be able to do everything, but we can do something. In fact, we've already heard of some donations coming in already. Like you said, anything is welcome. Anything is appreciated. And Joe, we thank you for helping us put this together.
You got it, Carly. Take care of yourself.
All right. We'll check back with you soon.
Time now is 6:20, and we will get a look at other news that we're following this morning.
Investigators are trying to figure out what went wrong after a driver ends up taking a deadly plunge into a South Florida pond.
This morning is coming up at 7 right here on CBS 4.
Anthony Mason joins us live from the CBS This Morning studio in New York City. Anthony, good morning to you. Tell us what you're working on today.
Hey, Francis and Carly, ahead on CBS This Morning. We are in the Bahamas. See you at 7.
Thank you, Anthony. They will have that and a lot more coming up next on CBS This Morning, and it all gets underway at 7 only here on CBS 4, right after CBS 4 This Morning. Straight ahead at 6:30, Walmart is making a really big change.
Yeah, what the retail giant has announced it is doing about the selling of handgun ammunition, plus what it is asking customers not to do.
And we are tracking Hurricane Dorian as it heads up the Florida coast. Where it is now and where it's forecast to go next.
That's coming right up. CBS 4 This Morning on this Wednesday. We'll be right back.
Right now at 6:30, some Bahamas residents are not waiting for someone to come and rescue them. Instead, they are risking their own lives to help their neighbors and others stranded by Dorian. The amazing rescue operation's underway.
And right now, Central Florida is feeling the sting of Dorian as the storm inches up the coast, lashing the coast with whipping winds and drenching rains.
Let's take a live look outside where things are getting back to normal here in South Florida after we dodged Dorian. Lisette is here with your Wednesday morning forecast. Lisette, you have been working so hard.
We've all been
over these past several days, and I know that everybody is maybe kind of breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief this morning.
Yes, here in South Florida, we are grateful that we didn't have to deal with a direct impact from Dorian, but now our attention turns to the people of the Bahamas. It is heartbreaking to see the video and the images coming out of there, and the fact that they had this monster hurricane just sitting over them for more than 24 hours. So we need to get them help now. And then at least locally for those that are trying to get those donations and supplies together, the weather's cooperating. And for everyone trying to get back to school and getting back to work, thankfully our weather's cooperating. But folks up to our north across Northeast Florida, they're they're still dealing with Dorian and tropical storm force conditions.
We turn back to the devastation in the Bahamas now. Parts of the country are still unreachable. Take a look. This is Marsh Harbor on Grand Abaco Island. About 6,000 people live there, and Dorian wiped out, just demolished many of their homes.
Now, this is a view from the ground in Freeport. Street after street turned into rivers, homes surrounded by feet of water. This morning, the Bahamas Prime Minister confirms at least 7 people have died because of the hurricane.
Across the Bahamas, search and rescue missions are now underway. In many of these cases, there aren't any official first responders, so it's up to neighbors to help each other. CNN correspondent Patrick Ottman saw that firsthand.
We were walking out to a staging area where they're bringing people in from the communities out here that have been flooded. Sometimes one at a time. You can see there are still hurricane force winds and rain coming down on us, and yet these people are going out and pulling people from their houses, from the top of their houses, and saving their lives. Look, there's a little baby here. They're a boy. They're covering up and protecting. Many people here have told us that the water came in so quickly into this neighborhood, you would not be able to tell from what you're looking here, but there are hundreds of houses back there. And the only way to get the people from the houses is from small boats and jet skis. This is all volunteer. People are coming, they're bringing their jet skis, they're bringing their boats. They're going to get their neighbors, they say. Everyone says they know of people. They say it's very hard to navigate because there are, of course, no more streets. And yet they are doing it. You don't see anybody from the government here. It is all very ad hoc. People coming with what they have, the jet skis they have. They are dealing with horrible weather conditions. It's not safe to be out on a boat right now. It's not safe to be out here at all. And yet they say they know there are people out there. There are people who've lost their lives out there. We are told they brought back at least one body. And they say they will not stop until they get everybody.
South Florida communities are coming together to help the Bahamas. Volunteers at Christ Episcopal Church in Coconut Grove are collecting everything from batteries to tarps to canned goods, dry goods. Miami-Dade businesses and government buildings like the fire stations are also getting involved. A local official says that an airline with several seaplanes is even offering to fly these goods in.
We have a very generous offer from Tropic Ocean out of Fort Lauderdale Executive. They have 7 Cessna Caravans, which they're mainly for the tourists, but they have a good cargo payload, and they have pontoons so they can land on the water.
There are many local ties to the Bahamas here in South Florida. Many who lived on the island or still have family on the island say that even if you cannot contribute, it's important to get the word out that people on that island are still in urgent need of help.
And Walt Disney as well as Royal Caribbean are helping the Bahamas by pledging $1 million. Disney says it will make donations to nonprofits assisting with recovery efforts. Cruise line Royal Caribbean says they are sending supplies on its ship for direct delivery to the Bahamas. Both organizations have operations on the islands.
And Neighbors for Neighbors and our Intercom radio partners like Power 96, 560 The Joe, WQAM, and Kiss Country 99.9 are coming together to help with those relief efforts. To find out how you can help, you can go to neighborsforneighbors.org. You can also go to cbsmiami.com/Dorian Relief. North of Florida, pretty much no one is going toward coastal areas. That's for the best. The highways are just one way out. The eastbound Interstate 16 in Georgia, which heads into Savannah, is closed for 120 miles, but those lanes are open to carry people evacuating from the coast. The main highway leading out of Charleston, South Carolina, is also closed one way to allow people to evacuate.
It is 6:41 now. In other news we're following this morning, some big changes are coming to one of the country's biggest box stores.
What Walmart will not be selling anymore and what they're asking their customers not to bring inside.
Plus, the Pentagon is providing more money to build a border wall, but where that money is coming from is causing a major concern.
Back to you.
Thank you, Chris. Now in news across America, the U.S. Coast Guard has stopped the search for survivors from a deadly Labor Day boat fire in Santa Barbara, California. The Coast Guard has released dramatic video of the rescue efforts. Only 5 people out of 39 passengers on board the dive craft were found alive. The other 34 people were trapped below the deck by the flames with no means of escape. The cause of that fire is yet to be determined. And following 2 shootings at Walmart stores this summer, the retail giant has announced plans to stop selling some types of ammunition, and it's also asking customers stop openly carrying guns into the stores. CBS 4's Mark Liverman has more.
Walmart says it's scenes like this that have caused the company to change its policies on CBS News New York.
Kroger is now also joining Walmart, asking customers not to openly carry firearms into its stores, except for law enforcement. The company is also pushing for stricter gun laws. Let's now get a final check on Hurricane Dorian. This morning, the storm is being blamed for at least 7 deaths in the Bahamas.
It made landfall over the weekend as a Category 5 storm, devastating parts of the island. Now there's no power on the Grand Bahama Island, no running water, and sporadic cell service at best. Rescue efforts are underway as dozens of people are still unaccounted for, and parts of the island are completely underwater.
South Florida is answering the cries for help as communities come together to help the Bahamas. In Miami-Dade County, businesses and government buildings are also getting involved. A local airline with several seaplanes is even offering to fly those goods in. In Broward, business leaders, boaters, aviation companies, and residents have already collected tons of supplies and more than $150,000 to help in the relief efforts.
Meantime, evacuations are underway along the Georgia and Florida coastlines as they watch Hurricane Dorian's movements. The National Hurricane Center is expecting the now Category 2 storm to weaken as it makes its way along the Florida coast. Forecasters are expecting it to turn to the north later tonight and will be possibly followed by a northeastern turn tomorrow morning. So sounds like there's some good news coming everyone's way.
Yeah, well,
Eventually.
The only thing is that we have to wait and see what happens with the Carolinas and Georgia, because right now we're seeing the potential that Dorian could be making landfall or just be off the coast and bringing all of those gusty winds and squalls and possible tropical storm force or hurricane force conditions for them. So we'll look at the radar and show you that it is still battering the central northeast coast of Florida and even parts of Georgia. But I wanted to give you this live view from our Windjammer Reserve camera because I think we all need a little breather and look at how fortunate we are as we're waking up to a quiet start, upper 70s, low 80s, and yeah, it'll be hot today. We'll see some spotty storms, so we can handle it. All right, as we head throughout the next few days, it will be a scorcher, near record heat possible with low to mid 90s, and the chance for some scattered storms, more of our typical summertime pattern returning. Right now, though, we want to see how it's looking as everyone's getting back to work, back to school. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Lieutenant. Good morning, South Florida. And we're in Broward County, and we're still working on the crash along I-95 southbound just before Commercial Boulevard. One right lane is blocked, and it's a stop-and-go ride on the approach reaching back past Cypress Creek Road. Emergency vehicles now on scene working on their cleanup and investigation. We may see another lane blocked to assist with that cleanup. Miami-Dade, though, is accident-free, and we're only seeing minor delays this morning on the Palmetto Expressway. That's a look at traffic. Ladies, back to you.
Thank you, Chris. Lisette, I like what you said. Taking a moment of gratitude this morning, really, just to be grateful that we avoided the worst of it, and now we can lend a helping hand to our neighbors in the Bahamas.
Absolutely.
Nothing sounds so bad after that. Thank you so much, Lisette.
Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
We'll see you at noon.